In this video, I'm going to try and make the ultimate bike stand for a tiny space. Thanks for clicking play, welcome to my bomb shelter basement workshop. I've already done a bike stand video not too long ago. It was part of a mini-series where I was coming up with clever space-saving ideas because my house is quite tiny, but that bike stand was a complete failure. After finishing the video, sometimes the bikes would fall out, so I stopped using it. The bikes were scattered around my living room. The bike stand was taking up space, so it was even worse than when I started. But since then, I've had tons of ideas on how to improve it, and that's what we're going to do in this video. I'm going to start with some scrap wood, test out my ideas, and then I think I'm actually going to buy some wood. Let's get to it. This idea was going to be pretty straightforward because the bikes go into it straightforward. But I'd made some miscalculations and I made it too big, so I needed to rebuild it. Next were the back sections, which were going to take the weight of the bike. For this I undid parts of the old stand, chopped it into small blocks to give it structure whilst making the spacing exactly the same all the way through. This version is already so much better. I can see loads of little improvements I can make, and I didn't have enough wood to do the third one. So I might wait until payday, actually buy some wood, and make this thing much nicer. Literally just started tidying up, then I had an idea. I'm gonna test it out. It doesn't work perfectly, but as a test, that's successful. So I'm gonna have a good think about that one, see how I can make it work properly. It's been a few weeks since I put this test one together. My other videos have delayed me making the nice one, and it's been working well, but it does take up a lot of room space. So I had an idea yesterday. What if I put the bikes on an angle like my very first design? Now it's at 45 degrees, I've actually got about a foot space between the wheel and the wall, so I can push it back, and that should give me loads more room. Many moons have passed since I did that test one. I've had loads more ideas since then. I've now got some decent wood, and it's time to start cutting. I'm gonna start with the base, and I'm gonna do something very similar to my under sofa drawer storage. You'll see what I mean. The base was a super simple idea. It's just big chunks of wood screwed together to make it about 15 centimeters high, and then I just bolt that together with angles and put a sheet over the top of it. Ideally, I should have used a thicker piece of plywood on the top to make it completely solid, but I didn't have any, and I hate spending money on wood, so we've gone with a thin piece. We'll see how it works. The reason I built the base first is I still don't really know what I'm doing. Okay, so that's a bit of a lie, but I needed this built so I could take some measurements and make sure they were right. Once I tested everything out, it was time to start chopping the good wood. The side of my base is going to be a little bit dodgy because it has to go around my fireplace. So there's going to be this weird L shape with a triangle attached. If you were doing it and you had enough room, you'd just make a giant square base. With the base complete, it was time to move on to the upright sections. All the pieces are cut. We've got 3 longish pieces with an angle, 3 shorter pieces with an angle, 6 pieces with angles either side, and then 6 really long bits. I almost forgot, but the last thing I need is 6 9-centimeter blocks. I'm going to try and assemble them down here, then bring them upstairs. That's going to be a pain because my workshop's tiny and the staircase is horrible. Let's get to it. As usual, I changed my mind halfway through. As you just saw, I was just gonna stick a screw through this piece attached to that. Never works out that stable, and I would have run out of screws. So I decided to cut these little bits here and use multiple screws to attach them to make it really solid, and it won't matter because this will technically be hidden. And with the first one assembled, I just had to copy this process for all the other pieces. We've made the base and we've cut the uprights. Now it's time to start assembling it, and this is where my design gets a little bit weird. So the base itself has structures down the left and the right, and it has a structure down the back, but it has nothing at the front, which means it's weak right now. So we're going to add this one piece along the top, and that will frame the front of it, making it solid. Now it's time to see if all the angles and measurements work out, or if I'm starting from scratch. It's looking good, I think it's gonna work. I cut these 10cm blocks earlier, they will get attached properly soon, but for now they're helping me space this thing out so it's got the perfect distance. I don't have any screws long enough to go in this section here, which will attach it to the frame of the base, but it works, and it's only got a little bit of lateral movement, which is really impressive considering it's only attached by 2 screws. So now I'm just going to get the other ones on and make sure they're the right size. The bike stand is complete, it holds bikes perfectly, I'll show you that at the end, but I did say this was going to be the ultimate bike stand, so let's add some drawers. I'm using scrap plywood for this section because plywood is expensive and I'm cheap, so after a few measurements we got to cutting. Going to attach the drawers with one of my favourite things, heavy duty soft close drawer runners. These ones are 40cm. They were on eBay for £30 for a set of 5. It's phenomenal value. I'll stick the link in the description to these. I'm going to try and attach them. I'm always bad at this part. That's the drawers fitted, let's make this bike stand even more ultimate. Again, for this section I'm using scrap plywood. This stuff was really thin, so I had to stick it together to make it thick enough. Really shouldn't have done that in my front room. It kind of looks ugly, but it's not ugly if you can't see it. I fully regret this section, but I didn't have time to change it and edit it out. Because I used scrap wood, every single panel looked different and I didn't have enough time to sand it and stain it so it all looked the same. So I decided to experiment with some spare vinyl I had laying around, and it looked terrible. So that's the hidden flaps done for bike storage. We've got the drawers for bike storage. I think I can squeeze out a little bit more bike storage. Whilst I was fitting the helmet and glasses mount, I realised that these aren't quite straight and they're a little bit wobbly, so I'm going to add a support. For the finishing touch on my ultimate DIY bike stand, we're going to add some drawer handles using bicycle wheels. I've done this a couple of times on previous projects. All you need to do is get a bike wheel, chop all the spokes out of it, and then you've got the rims. Here's one I chopped earlier. Now you just need to cut it flat and turn it into a handle.
They are among us. As the skies light up, they believe we are blissfully unaware. But This activity by non-human extraterrestrial technology is capturing the attention of humans.
And there you go, the DIY bike stand is complete, and this one actually works perfectly, even if I do think the white wrap on the base is very, very ugly. The reason it works so well is when the bikes are stood upright, it's got a perfect balance point, so it only needs a little thing behind the rear wheel to stop it falling over. And when it's leaning on the uprights, the forks stop it from twisting left and right, so that also stops it from falling over. Now, if you know anything about bikes, you'll know there are different types of hub spacings, but when I was doing my measurements, I realized if there is an inside space of 9 centimeters, the wood on the outside would let every single type of forks rest against it. And that means apart from fat bikes, any type of bike can go into any one of those stands. They can go in any order. And even if I change bikes in the future, like I did in that video, it's going to accommodate it. Any bikes at all can go in that stand. And that is one of the reasons I didn't put blocks on the top, because if I ever upgraded to a long travel mountain bike or a 29er, I do want the extra room for it to sit higher up. As well as holding the bikes perfectly, this stand has tons of storage for things like tubes, oils, gloves, anything I want to put in there. Now, I did plan on the drawers holding my shoes originally, but I miscalculated the sizes slightly, so they don't go in there right now, but I'll adjust that in the future. If you were making one, yeah, be careful on the measurements. You want to make sure the shoes go in there. The helmet holder and glasses stand was a bit of an afterthought, but I'm really chuffed with that. That worked out really well. As I use it more and more over time, I'm sure there'll be small little improvements I make here and there, but it's pretty much spot on. So if you've got a small space and you want bike storage that actually holds accessories and clothes and gloves and stuff like that, I think it's a great idea. And obviously I am gonna take that horrible white vinyl wrap off, sand it, stain it all the same color. But I ran out of time. I normally release my videos on Sundays. It's now Monday. Hopefully I get this out tonight, but that is the end of the video. So as usual, if you've got any tips, questions, or suggestions, stick them in the comments below. If you could subscribe, that would be awesome, and I'll see you in the next video.